hated every job I've ever had. I thought there was something wrong with me. I'm like, maybe I'm just not good at things. Like a lot of people they're talented, they draw, they sing. I'm not one of those people that just has all these talents. When this started coming through, because it was my soul essence that was coming through, I felt a love in my heart that I have not felt my entire life. And that's how I knew to keep going. Our choices and our consciousness dictates how we play out the energy. So this is not fate. This is not like you're not screwed. There's some challenging aspects that your soul might have to go through, but then there's also ways to navigate them.
The heart knows the way and the mind leads us astray. And because the mind is really just acting from fear. We are just taught that the mind is superior, it's supreme, and it's so amazing when we start to unwind that. Self-awareness is the secret sauce to everything. The healing just truly begins with the awareness. Welcome to the next episode of the Spirit and Soul Podcast. I am your host, Tiffany Cohen, and today you are in for a treat because we have Danielle Paige here with us today. Welcome to the Spirit and Soul Podcast, Danielle.
Thank you so much for having me. So happy to be here. So happy to connect with you and dive deep today.
I cannot wait because I just love your content. I love all things astrology that you talk about. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how you really got into everything you do?
Yeah. My story, how I got in it is pretty crazy. When I was a child, I always wanted to be a doctor because I just knew that doctors helped people. So it kind of started with that. So yes, I'm an astrologer, a spiritual teacher. Everything I do just leads you back to your soul. And then when you're connected to your soul, you're guided through everything. I started when I was 30. I was living in Boston. I was living with my boyfriend at the time. We decided to go to Paris for my birthday. And we're there, and then he dumps me in Paris on my birthday. I ended up going back to Boston with him. I went on a walk, and I didn't know at the time, but I got this download. I got this really strong intuition, and it was my soul speaking to me. And at the time, my soul said, go back to California. Didn't know what I was doing. It was in 2009, so the economy tanked, the housing market crisis. So I couldn't find a job. I'm living with my parents, who I haven't lived with since I was 18. I'm now 30 at the time. And it was hard, and I was crying over my relationship. So I really felt like I was hitting rock bottom. It might have been like a month after that, I started having dreams that started telling me stuff that would happen during the day. And I would wake up from these dreams and they would be so vivid and so real. A little bit after that, I woke up in the middle of the night and I opened my eyes and I see this spirit right above me. And I saw this and I'm thinking, no, I'm awake. I'm not imagining this. And then I got really scared, and not because the spirit was scary, but because I didn't have any context for this. Spirit was like, go meditate. I've never meditated before in my life, didn't know what it was. So I'm starting to learn this, but I don't really have anyone to talk to. And so I always say, my first teacher was spirit, God, source, divine, whatever word you want to say. They led me through everything. And so it was a series of months that led into years. I then found astrology through a very synchronistic way. Of course, that's how it happens. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing because let me look at my chart because I don't really know what to do anymore. I don't know if it's interior design, if it's architecture. So I need some help. So maybe it can help me and tell me things about myself. So that's how it started. It helped me figure out so much about myself, the way I was wired. And then I eventually was like, this is what I'm going to do for other people. So it started with astrology. That's what I do. That's how I started. I'm now going on 18 years of this. It's fun. I never know what's actually happening. And when I get bored and when something stops and something new comes in. So I'm always learning every day.
What a beautiful story. And I'm sure in the moment, it just felt like life was falling apart, right? Like these things that happen to us, it's like this is your awakening moment, right? Where it's like we awaken to the actual truth of who we are as these beautiful, soulful beings. But it also feels like your world is kind of being shaken and it's like, what's happening? What am I doing here? And I just love how you listened. You were just open to receive it, to be guided by source, by God, whatever words we want to use, to learn about who you are. My goodness, how amazing.
It was very scary and it was very confusing. But when I started opening up, my mind was confused. My mind was like, what's going on, right? But my body and my heart felt a peace that I have never felt in 30 years. I hated every job I've ever had. I thought there was something wrong with me. I'm like, maybe I'm just not good at things. Maybe I'm just not There's maybe I don't know, unhappy. I felt like there was always something wrong. And so when this started coming through, because it was my soul essence that was coming through, I felt a love in my heart that I have not felt my entire life. And that's how I knew to keep going. I've always known there's something else, but like I just didn't know what it was. Like a lot of people they're talented, they draw, they sing. I'm not one of those. Like, I'm not one of those people that just has all these talents. So it was really hard for me because I was always trying to figure out, well, what is it? What am I good at? What am I good at? In school, like, I was uninterested. I didn't know what really lit me up. And when I went into this world, I understood it. It's like another language that worked. And when I taught myself astrology, and it is the only thing that started making sense to me because I basically just had to remind myself because I've done this, my soul has done this before. And so, yeah, I just want to share that because I think it's really important because our mind does say, this is crazy. And my mind did say that. And I was very confused. But I listened to my heart. And you picked up on it. I listened to way spirit was guiding me, but I didn't really realize at the time I was being guided by spirit. I had to learn that in hindsight.
Yeah. I always say the heart knows the way and the mind leads us astray. And because the mind is really just acting from fear, right? It's just like it's trying to keep you safe and it's doing its job. It's just that we are just taught that the mind is superior, it's supreme. And it's so amazing when we start to unwind that and allow the soul, the heart to really like lead the way because it really does always lead you to where exactly you need to be, even if that place feels unfamiliar, it feels scary, but it's usually the scariness that feels exciting. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, listen, I felt everything. I felt every emotion, but I had to keep listening to my heart and my soul that kept pulling me in that direction. And listen, I'm still learning to calm my mind. I just had a client and we were talking about that as well. And we all do because the mind makes up stories. The mind's attached to the past. It keeps us in the past. It keeps us in the trauma loops. Our body, we have trauma in our body too, of course, but the mind just really loops us and loops us over and over again.
And so how do you feel like astrology played it? Because you said that you were self-taught astrology. How do you feel that that started to really guide you and how did you use it as a support as you move forward?
It was amazing. I like to say now it's one of my tools in my toolkit. I'm an astrologer, but I am so much more than that. And it's a beautiful tool that I have that over the years I've tried to teach as many people as I can because it's so amazing. But, I went in and I was in this space. I'm like, I don't really know what to do. And I don't really know what my gifts are. So maybe this chart can help me. So I started looking at the chart. I started learning it. And then I started saying, oh, okay, this is why I do this in love. This is why, my mind is quick and sometimes my voice is even quicker, my tone is quick. I started understanding about myself and my behavioral patterns. And I'm like, okay, and there's a shadow energy in everything, and then there's the higher octave. So the journey of astrology to me is to elevate our soul, to learn, okay, yeah, I'm in the shadow energy of this. I keep doing this. So how do I move out of this and what does the higher octave look? So why don't I start moving into this and start choosing, differently? So it absolutely changed my life. That's why I was like, I think I need to do this for people. Astrology is truly amazing. It can predict world events. I mean, listen, do I predict everything? Absolutely not. Is there a lot going on that I can see? Yeah. But I'm also choosing to live my life at the same time, because sometimes you see an astrology and you're like, well, I gotta take a chance. So I use the chart as guidance, but then I use my soul over the chart. And that's actually Kabbalistic astrology. Basically, it's that there's nothing in the chart that's gonna overpower us. Like we have our choices. This is our mazal, this is our blueprint, this is our makeup, but our choices and our consciousness dictates how we play out the energy. So that to me is a really beautiful way that it's like this is not fate. This is not like you're not screwed. There's some challenging aspects that your soul might have to go through, but then there's also ways to navigate them and ways to choose differently. So yeah, it's really beautiful. So it helped me. It's helped so many people. And I love it.
I think that so many people, they allow themselves to actually become a victim of their chart. And I'm sure that you see this. And I own a shop here in New York, Spirit and Soul Studio, and people come in all the time and they're like, oh, but my this is in that. And this just means that I am this way. And I'm like, well, no, that's actually a choice. right? Like it's a choice to continue in that way. So, how does somebody start to really kind of have that discernment and say, like, all right, I see this in the chart, and yes, this is a supposed to be a blueprint of the soul, or I don't know if that's how you would describe it, but yeah, it's supposed to be a blueprint, and so like, how do you not fall into that and live by it? Because I see it so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, and it's tricky because astrology is very popular online, so great that it helps people, but I like to call, and again, I'm just being honest because like, to me this is a mystical tool. It's so sacred and so beautiful, and there's a lot of what I like to call basic bitch astrology, and it's not real. And it's not real. And listen, anyone could do whatever they want, but like the problem is because I've been doing this for now 18 years, people come to me, "Oh, this person said this and this person said this and I heard this," and what it does is it just scares you. Let's put it this way, my astrology mystery school, when I teach level 1, it is a 10-week course just for level 1. That's how in-depth this is, right? So you can't just be like, "Every Taurus, you're gonna feel this month." It doesn't work that way. So the first thing is awareness that we are so many pieces of our chart. We have so many elements. It's all an archetype, it's all an energy. And then awareness of, yeah, let's look at my shadow. Yes, I've been doing this. I can see that I get really pissed off or I get really mad or have a knee jerk reaction. Okay. So maybe we have Uranus squaring Mars in the chart. Maybe we have a Mercury in Aries squaring Uranus or squaring Mars, right? That could contribute to that. Okay. So there is energy of that. And so you need to be aware, like, yes, do you see this in your life? Do you see that you're like trigger happy? Do you see like, it's just you're combustible? So, first, having the awareness that you do that is huge because we also just move through life. Sometimes we don't even realize what we're doing something. We're just angry or we're just this or we just yell all the time. But it's like, let's come back to having awareness. And then let's look at, okay, well, what is this energy really trying to teach you? What's the soul evolution of this? And that's where I go in with clients, talk about the soul evolution. And then we can look at, okay, how can we bring this into your life so you can work on the shadow and then bring in the higher octave of this? Because every aspect, every planet, every angle, everything in the chart has a higher octave. So it really starts with awareness of like, yeah, I'm doing this. I can see it. Okay, you're playing out the shadow. I'm not surprised you're doing that. So you're not doing anything wrong. Now let's evolve this. Now let's say I'm going to choose to use this energy differently. I have some stuff in my chart that as a child, it was like really hard for me to kind of like feel. It was like too much power almost in a way. And I've learned how to navigate that. Now, would I say I'm 100% with it? No, because I'm human. But I know like situations I don't want to be in that are going to not be good for me. Like you have to know yourself and you have to know your soul. And it's like, no, that environment's not gonna be positive for me, right? So yeah, it's a lot of how willing are you to look at yourself in the mirror? How willing of you? And I always say with compassion, with kindness, it's not no, you're not judging yourself. You're just being aware of like, yeah, I have a tendency to do that. And that is one of the strongest statements. If you can be like, yeah, I can do that, I do that without shaming yourself, that's beautiful because then you're already starting to move the energy. You're already starting to move your awareness. Your consciousness is opening up and you're changing the light in your body. So that's a good place to start.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that self-awareness is the secret sauce to everything, right? It's like if the second that you can become aware of how you're showing up, you're already breaking like that mold of or like being on that hamster wheel of just operating and not thinking about it. And suddenly when you become aware of it, you're like, "Wow, wait a minute. I do this all the time or I'm in this loop." And then I feel like once you start to understand that about yourself, you can actually stop it before it starts. And like the healing just truly begins with the awareness. I 100% agree with you. So Danielle, when it comes to your business, how do you use astrology in your business? Do you have like, does your business have its own chart? I'm curious to hear about this.
I do use astrology, but at the end of the day, and this is funny coming from an astrologer, I always listen to my soul. Like that's the most important thing. So I've launched stuff during retrograde, and honestly, it was like, this is just the best timing for me and my journey. Sure, there's going to be some stuff that comes up, and sometimes there is. But I do. I follow it, but I always follow my soul. I think it's the most important thing. You know, over the years, I only had, started getting some business coaches, like, a couple years ago, but I never had a business coach because And people were so they're like, "How have you not had a business coach? How have you?" And I'm like, "No, I just never because one, I'm not gonna listen because I just gonna do my own thing anyways." And everything just came through. I was like, "This is the next step. Do this." Like I just got ideas, and so I just went with that because it was like that was my journey. So, yes, I look at the chart. I take that in consideration, but like my connection with my soul is first and foremost over anything else.
I feel like it takes a special awareness and also like the guts to listen to it. And so how does somebody even begin? Because I know you teach intuition. So if you want to touch on intuition and how to really lean into it, I think that that would give everybody listening right now so much value to just dive into and live life like that.
First and foremost, let's start here. You are an antenna. I call it a cosmic body. Okay. So you're an antenna connected to the universe, connected to other realms, other dimensions, other realities. You are a vibration, right? So it's like if you come back and you get out of your mind for one moment, what is your body vibrating at? What are you putting out? What are you receiving? Okay. We feel everything in our body. We meet someone and we might feel it like clench up. We meet someone and we're like, oh my God, like it just relaxes, or like it felt like, oh, I've known you forever kind of thing. Our body tells us everything that we need to know. So, first thing is we need to learn to drop out of the mind, which is not easy. I have a very strong mind. When I first had my awakening, I was very psychic and very open. And then over the years, it felt like it was disappearing. So I struggled that I'm like, oh, it's gone. Where did it go? And then what happened is, and this relates to intuition, is I learned over the years, it was a lot of struggle. I learned over the years that it was always right here. It never left. I was perceiving it differently. And at first, when I had my awakening, spirit showed me that they had to show me something like very in a jarring way because I wouldn't have believed it otherwise. And they told me that as I evolved, I didn't need to see that information that way. So it's coming in more subtle ways. Okay, so one, intuition, one, you have to feel into your body. Two, intuition changes throughout life based on our growth and just where we're at. It could be very strong, like you could hear it in an ear, you can see it in your third eye, you could feel in your body. It can change. So we have to not get attached to that. That's been a lesson as a Taurus. Don't get attached to anything, right? Um, and really, like, what is your antenna tuning to? So, yeah, does it take practice? Absolutely. But you know pretty much the truth of everything by the way your body feels. But what happened is we're so disconnected from our body. And that's not a judgment, that's just the reality. We live in a very mental world with a lot of noise. So we don't actually stop to connect in. And sometimes if we meditate, we're still here, right? So when I meditate, sometimes I listen to like my own meditations that I do for my membership, but most of the time I'm just in silence because I just want to drop into my body. So it's really getting comfortable with the body. And, here's another really big tip that took me many years. When I first started doing some mediumship, it would come through and it wouldn't. And then it like didn't for many years. And then I learned, okay, I'm so used to with astrology, like when I look at a chart, like there's calculations and now I could look at a chart. I mean, I know what it means, but you're still like, I'm working. My mind is working, and stuff comes through as well, but my mind is going. So what I had to learn, I'm like, oh, with mediumship, with intuition, I don't actually have to do anything because I'm used to Danielle working real hard for things, right? And when I realized this was huge. I realized I don't have to work for it. What I need to do is just drop from my mind, be in my body, and actually receive. And then information started coming through. And that was a real big twist for me because I'm used to working hard. I'm like, I'll build a business, I'll do this. But, that's just, I have a lot of the masculine and the feminine in me. So, but it's completely different with intuition.
I love that you can really truly allow yourself to receive it and then act on it.
I know, and I was going back and forth, and again, I what stopped me at the last minute is how my body felt. You have to follow your soul, and if you do, your soul always guides you. Sure, there's moments when I don't know what to do, absolutely, but then I don't make a move when I don't know what to do. So just to share, I lost everything in the Palisades fire. I got information very clearly from spirit, go back to Florida and be with your family. And that's all I knew. I knew because I could have just got a new place right afterwards, But my nervous system was not okay after the fire, and I did not want to make a decision from that place. So I just went. And everyone's like, "Where are you going to move? Where are you going to go?" And I'm like, "I have no idea. And I'm not going to worry about it because I know that when it's right, it's going to be right." And then all of a sudden, months later, like 8 months later, this beautiful furnished place from LA landed in my lap twice. The first time I said no because I wasn't ready. And months later, it was still available. Somehow they took it back on the market. And it was a beautiful place. It looked like my furniture in my old place that I lost, and, gorgeous, like, because my background's in design, so I love it, and it appeared, and I said I knew this was for me. So the whole point of all this is you will be guided. I think sometimes we force it because everyone kept asking me, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "I'm not gonna force it until it's ready." And sure, was it like easy just being in my parents' extra bedroom at like 47 years old? No. But also, I was grateful that I could take that break to figure out so I can make a decision not from survival, but make a decision from what felt right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's just so important because we're often and honestly, I'm actually receiving a message from you for myself right now. I am going through a particular situation in my life where I'm like, I feel like I have to make decisions really, really fast, and some of them are coming very naturally and acting on them, and that feels really great. And then there are some that I feel stuck, and so like you just gave me the message of like, don't move.
If it's not coming through, then I'm not making a decision, then it's not there. It's not there yet. You will know when it feels right, if it feels right. And not every decision is yes, it's a no, but you will know. And, I was just talking with my friend last night about this, and I'm like, I don't have a decision yet. And I said to her, no decision is like, it's indecision. And so it's like, you don't actually have a decision yet. Like, so just be okay in that space, right? So I said, okay, I'm just going to sit with this. And if I wake up tomorrow morning and feel differently, and I woke up and I actually genuinely felt different, and I'm like, okay, that's it. Let's go.
Yeah. And so what would you say to somebody that's like, what would be the difference between no decision and like the hemming and hawing over it?
At the end of the day, if you keep going back and forth, to me, that's a no until it's a yes. Because I would never say yes in the indecision. If I can't decide, then to me, that's still a no because I don't know yet. And so maybe, I'm a little traditional or conservative with that. So I would pause, but I'm not going to say yes when I'm going back and forth.
Yeah, and I think that the sacred pause is just something that don't we don't think of. It's not natural, and so I feel like this right here, I know I needed this. And this right here is just so important because you can take a breath. Like you can take a pause.
Our society is so like, do more, do this, do that. And it's like, do we really need to? Or do we just want to live our life? Right. So that's why I don't listen to what everyone says. Listen, I had a season of business where I was going hard and doing all the things, and I felt great because that was my flow. And now I'm a little older and I'm a little different. And I'm like, I don't want to do. I do a lot. I work a lot. I'm still always working a lot, but I don't want to do some of the things I did before. And so we just listen to ourselves. We can't listen to the noise of society of like, oh, you need to make this certain amount and you need to. Da, da, da. A lot of the things that people want, is it really going to bring you happiness, or are you just going to do it because that's what society says to do? So at the end of the day, find what your joy, find what makes you happy. Like that's more important than anything else. I do have a book that I'm working on, but I didn't do it for a long time because everyone's like, write a book. And I was like, yeah, I will when I'm ready. So I started writing, and then I paused it because I just knew that there's some other things I'm working on right now. But I think a lot of people write a book just because society tells you, oh, it's good to have a book if you're like. And I get it. In a real world, it is. It's your calling card. Like you can have interviews for that. I get it. But also, I'm not someone that likes to work that way. I'm only gonna have the book come out when it feels right. It's like I don't work in this world, this 3D matrix world. Sure, does it make more sense to have a book? Absolutely. So if you wanna write a book, write a book. But I'm not gonna do it just to do it for that reason. Like I just don't do that. I literally live on my own schedule.
Danielle, I'm telling you, I did the same thing. I actually have my book is coming out this year.
Oh my God,
And yeah,
congratulations.
thank you. And
What's it about?
it's called the Best Life Code. So it's the
Oh,
code that I feel like really creates that, your biggest and best life, whatever that is to you. So it's manifesting plus
beautiful.
healing plus
Everyone go buy the book.
yay. Yeah. So it's like, it's really, It's interesting because I did the same exact thing. Like everybody from like day one of opening Spirit and Soul, they're like, oh, you got to write a book, write the book. Even if you have somebody else write it for you. I'm like, what? Absolutely not. Like, this is like, I was writing the book, stop, write it, stop. And then I'm like, I'm missing a piece. I'm missing a piece. And then the piece came. And I was like, okay, we're ready now. And that's when the publisher came. And that's when all the pieces lined up.
When it clicks, it clicks, and sometimes you can't force it. And yeah, I mean, listen, you can do whatever you want. You can write 10 books over the weekend if you want to do it, but it's like what brings you joy and what's aligned with your soul versus what society says you need to have.
Danielle, this conversation, it's lighting me on fire. Oh my goodness. How can people like get in your world? I heard you say that you had a membership. Tell everybody everything you have going on. They can work with
Yes,
you.
so I always have lots of courses. I do moon circles monthly. I have a membership. It's called Cosmic Body Collective. We talk about everything on the spiritual journey of evolution. It's like having me in the back pocket, and there's a bunch of meditations and voice notes, and it's like a coaching app to help you through the journey with astrology as well. So that's a low price point. I keep that low so everyone can join. And then I also have tons of courses. I just finished up a course called The Art of Intuition. It ended up being 7.5 hours of teachings. And these are teachings that are not from a book. This is everything from my journey. Actually, I just realized 7.5 hours, and I've been 17 years, almost going on 18. So that seven is important. It's a spiritual number too. But I just realized that. But it's all my teachings of just everything that I've learned about intuition through my soul. So you'll never find it in a book.
All right, Danielle, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. How can everybody follow along? Where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at I am Danielle Paige, Paige, or you can find me on website, daniellepage.com.
Oh, thank you so much, Danielle. And anything else that you want to leave the listeners with? Anything at all?
One of the first things Spirit showed me is the hearts. And I didn't understand what they were showing me for a long time. And your heart is everything. That's where you get your answers. That's where you get your truth. That's where you magnetize and manifest everything to you. So your heart is so important. So draw it back in your heart, ask your heart several times throughout the day, how do you feel? What do you need? And check in truly. And then nurture that part of yourself. And that changes everything.
Here is the deal. I know that you guys have so much. This is a re-listen. You need to re-listen again to this podcast episode. There's so much beautiful things that Danielle shared. Please make sure that you are following her and then reach out to Danielle. You can reach out to me. Let me know what jumped out at you. What are you doing first in your life? I would love to hear from you. Make sure that you are heading over to Spirit and Soul Studio on Instagram. Let us know all the things and definitely let Danielle know. I'm sure she'd love to hear. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Spirit and Soul podcast.